bummy today. You was bony and looking too funny today. I don't care, nigga still make change. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Chatting with Cheeze podcast. I'm your host, Cheeze, and y'all already know the motto: no gimmicks, only the real. This is episode 48. Y'all know what I need from y'all. Continue smashing that subscribe button. We on our way to 300 subscribers. Also, do not forget to like and share the content when it is dropped. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for tuning in with me every week. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, I don't know if a lot of y'all remember, but a couple of weeks ago, I spoke on the Giannis Antetokounmpo and Milwaukee Bucks situation, and I said that I felt as though that I seen no scenario where Giannis would remain in the Milwaukee Bucks uniform much longer. Well, a couple of days ago, maybe about 2 days ago now, Milwaukee has been having meetings trying to sway Giannis with ideas of why he should stay in Milwaukee and why he should want to stay, and coming up with all type of plans. So the latest news that came out is that the Bucks are hoping Doc Rivers' presence will impact Giannis's decision whether he wants to stay or leave Milwaukee. So there's a chance that Antetokounmpo could request a trade from the Bucks, a place he has called home for the past 12 years. If he does indeed request a trade and the Bucks actually pull the trigger on one, that could all come to an end this summer. The decision that Antetokounmpo could eventually make will have ripple effects on the league. The Bucks are hoping that they have enough to have their two-time MVP to stay. The Milwaukee Bucks are reportedly hoping that the presence of Doc Rivers will make Giannis Antetokounmpo more likely to stay in Milwaukee. The Bucks are also hoping the presence of Doc Rivers as coach can provide some sort of boost. Giannis and Doc are believed to have a strong working relationship. Rivers just finished his second season under the helm in Milwaukee and his first full season with the Bucks. Although Rivers is arguably one of the top coaches in the history of the league, he has very little to show for himself recently. His tenure in Milwaukee has been underwhelming. He has yet to lead the Bucks to a playoff series win, went back-to-back seasons without reaching 50 wins, and also has collected 3 playoff wins in back-to-back seasons. The Bucks have also been eliminated by the same team, the Indiana Pacers. In 120 games for the Bucks, Rivers has led them to a 66-54 record. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and start off before I read all the rest of it. I'm gonna give my thoughts on that. I stand by what I said a couple of episodes ago. I don't see no scenario where Giannis Antetokounmpo stays in Milwaukee very much longer. Also, I don't see a reason why they would even believe Doc Rivers should sway that decision. And I don't believe Giannis should allow Doc Rivers to sway that decision. If them two having a good relationship with each other, that means nothing. That should absolutely mean nothing when it comes to the product that's being put on the basketball court. Me personally, and I'm gonna just call it how I see it. I believe that Milwaukee is trying to prove themselves right in this situation after what they did last season with removing the head coach that they had before. And I meant to put his name down, but I forgot it. But if you know, you know. Milwaukee had a head coach. I believe he had them at the time of his release. They were like second in the West. Second in the Eastern Conference. I can't remember exactly where they were at, but they were looking okay. And they ended up pulling him mid-season and replacing him with Doc Rivers. I believe in this situation, Milwaukee is just trying to prove their self to be right. I believe Doc Rivers, to me, is one of the most overrated coaches in the NBA. Doc Rivers, in his 10 years as being a head coach, Doc Rivers has one championship, and that's in 2008 with the super team, the Boston Celtics, with Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett, with also Rajon Rondo. But I don't see how Milwaukee actually believes that the Bucks, that Doc Rivers, out of all people, could sway Giannis Antetokounmpo's decision to want to stay there. Giannis has made it abundantly clear he wants to win and wants to compete for championships year in and year out. I don't see a scenario where he will be able to continue to do that in Milwaukee. You have Dame Lillard who just ruptured his Achilles late in the season. There's no timetable for when Dame could be back. There's a possibility Dame could miss all of next season. You don't know what's going to happen with Bobby Portis. You don't know what's going to happen with Brook Lopez. Chris Middleton was traded for Kyle Kuzma. He's in Washington now. Kyle Kuzma underperformed in the playoffs. You do have Gary Trent Jr., but with those pieces that I just named not being in the equation any longer, there's no way that Giannis is going to be able to just carry that team to a championship. Not with the way the East is looking. You have Boston now. We don't know their situation with Jason Tatum. He could possibly miss all of next season too because he just recently ruptured his Achilles. But you still can't count out Boston. The New York Knicks still. You still have now Indiana is now rising and possibly about to make a NBA Finals berth. Those teams are gonna just continue to get better. Whereas though I don't see a scenario where the Bucks are getting any better. I don't care what Doc Rivers tries to pitch to Giannis. I don't care what he tries to pitch. There's no scenario where Doc Rivers should sway any decision by Giannis. That's just my opinion. And I understand Giannis has been in Milwaukee for a bulk of his career, but there comes a point in time where some things just have to come to an end, and it's unfortunate. Doc Rivers, let me read down some of the things that I wrote down for Doc Rivers, and this is some of the stuff that if you're in the sports you know. But let me give you Doc Rivers' resume as of late. In 120, I already said that. So Doc Rivers' postseason record as an NBA head coach is 113 and 112. This includes his time with the Orlando Magic, Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Clippers, Philadelphia 76ers, and currently Milwaukee Bucks. Doc Rivers has had a 3-1 lead in 3 separate playoff series and lost the series all 3 times. He is the only coach in NBA history to blow multiple 3-1 leads in the playoffs. Doc Rivers has been a head coach in the NBA for 24 years and has 1 championship that came in 2008. These are the star players that Doc Rivers has coached in every destination he's been at since leaving Boston. We're going to start with the Los Angeles Clippers. He had Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Jordan, the Lob City era Clippers, from 2013 to 2020. Then he moved on and went to coach the Philadelphia 76ers. He had them from 2020 to 2023. He had Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey. Now, I'll exclude Ben Simmons from that due to the fact that we know what all happened with Ben Simmons, but he got Tyrese Maxey early. Tyrese Maxey was drafted in 2020, I believe. So he got Tyrese Maxey early and was able to, kind of groom him up. So those 3 guys he had in Philly was never able to accomplish nothing. And also James Harden on the back end after his situation in Brooklyn getting traded to Philadelphia. And currently the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Dame Lillard. So I don't understand what more you can give Doc Rivers to succeed. And he continued. Oh, I didn't even mention. I'm sorry. God, I skipped out on something. He also had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in his time with the Clippers. I'm sorry I skipped out on that part. My bad. But what more proof in the pudding do you need that at this point in his career, Doc Rivers is just a name? Doc Rivers shouldn't move the needle for anybody. Giannis is in the prime of his career. Why should the presence of Doc Rivers sway any decision he wants to make on his future, especially with him coming out multiple times stating that he wants to win, when as of late Doc Rivers has no track record of winning? That makes absolutely no sense to me. This to me is a situation where Milwaukee is just trying to prove themselves right by removing the previous coach and replacing him with Doc Rivers. And that was kind of a snake job the way Doc Rivers got the job anyway, but I'm not going to speak on that. But Doc Rivers shouldn't move any needle for Giannis. Okay, they could have a good relationship. That's fine and dandy, but that doesn't matter when it doesn't translate to the basketball court. It doesn't matter. And I mean, at this point, I just don't feel I don't feel like there should be any reason why Giannis should look to want to stay in want to stay in Milwaukee any longer. You know what I'm saying? But there could be a possibility Giannis may have a soft spot in his heart for Milwaukee. He won a championship there. He's been there his whole career. Milwaukee took a chance on him, drafting a kid from Greece and, bringing him up. And now he's the player that we all know and love today. So he may have a soft spot in his heart for Milwaukee and just say, let me just try my hand and see if I can stay here and build this thing back up. But I'm confident with my scenario, and I said it, and I'm gonna stand by what I said. I don't see a scenario where Giannis Antetokounmpo is in Milwaukee much longer. I just don't. And I don't understand why Milwaukee would think the presence of Doc Rivers, who Giannis has seen firsthand, I don't understand why they think his presence will play a factor in Giannis wanting to stay. But like I said, we just got to wait and see what happens. Maybe, like I said, Giannis may have a soft spot and say, you know what, he decided to stay. Or you never know. Maybe we may get a bombshell saying that Giannis is requesting a trade. We just got to wait and see. Moving on to my second topic. So look, I know we all like to talk trash and, make fun of Big Perk on ESPN, Kendrick Perkins, if you don't know him by Big Perk. But I ain't gonna lie, he brought up a topic the other day. He made a statement the other day, and it kind of made his rounds on social media, and it came past my timeline. I said, you know what, let me bring this to my platform to see what my people think. So the other day on ESPN on First Take, Kendrick Perkins, I don't even know if it was First Take 100%, but it was on ESPN. That's all I'm gonna say. But Kendrick Perkins came out and said that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA for short, is the greatest Oklahoma City Thunder ever. After the phenomenal season that he's had, just winning the MVP, it looks like they're on their way to an NBA Finals. They're going to be the favorite to win the NBA Finals. He's stating his claim right now that SGA is the greatest Thunder of all time. So I said, you know what? Let me bring it to my platform and, give my 2 cents on it. So the topic of this matter is SGA the greatest Thunder of all time? So there has been 3 NBA MVPs in Oklahoma City Thunder history. Kevin Durant, 2014, he averaged 32 points per game, 5.5 assists, 7.4 rebounds, shot 50% from the field, 39% from 3. Their record was 59-23, and they were second in the Western Conference. Then you have Russell Westbrook in 2017. He averaged 31.6 points per game, 10.4 assists, 10.7 rebounds. He shot 43% from the field, 34% from 3. They were 6th in the Western Conference. And then this year you have SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Averaged 32.7 points per game, 6.4 assists, 5.4 rebounds, shot 52% from the field, 37% from 3. They were 1st in the Western Conference. Now, I feel like when you ask this when you talk about this certain topic, this could be a sensitive topic for a lot of Thunder fans and people that support the Thunder. I'm a Kevin Durant fan, right? I'm one of the biggest Kevin Durant fans you'll ever meet. Everybody that know me knows how much I love Kevin Durant, right? Me personally, the way I look at the situation, the way I look at it, if we're talking on strictly skill basis, a person drafted to Oklahoma City, well, originally it was the Seattle Supersonics that eventually rolled over to Oklahoma City. If we're talking just basically pure skill and a person that can do everything, to me, the greatest Thunder of all time is Kevin Durant. But if an Oklahoma City fan if I was to have a debate with an Oklahoma City fan on that, and they would give me pushback, because I understand the stigma, the way Kevin Durant left, leaving Oklahoma City the way he did, going to Golden State, the team that beat him in the Western Conference Finals, and blah, blah, blah. Y'all know the story. So I can understand why Oklahoma City Thunder fan would say, hell no, Kevin Durant's he not the greatest Thunder of all time. But if we're talking strictly on a skill basis, efficient, can shoot the long ball, can shoot the mid-range, can score in the paint, 50, 40, 90s, can do everything. If we're talking about that, Kevin Durant is easily the greatest Thunder of all time. Now, I believe when you factor in everything else, I believe that this argument really comes down to, and this argument only comes down to these two because, the situation with KD going to Golden State and how Thunder fans feel about him. it really comes down to Russell Westbrook and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because we all know Russell Westbrook is Mr. Thunder. Mr. OKC. We know that. Russell Westbrook was drafted by that organization. He gave them his all. He left it all on the floor. Now, once Kevin Durant left the team, he didn't really have too much success on his own, but what he did for that city, the triple doubles, the MVP, I could understand why Oklahoma City fans, why he's held at such a high regard. But I'm gonna call a spade, and I'm gonna keep it all the way 100. With the year that SGA has had, if he's able to tally this all up and put the cherry on top and win an NBA Finals, there's no argument about it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is gonna be the greatest Thunder of all time, and it's I don't really see how anybody could argue that, because Russell Westbrook nor Kevin Durant was able to win a championship in OKC. Did they do great things there? Absolutely. But if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is able to have the year that he's having, win the MVP, then turn around and win the NBA Finals, and more than likely win Finals MVP, I don't understand. There's no argument anybody should have that he's not the greatest Thunder of all time. I understand he wasn't drafted there, but at that point, it doesn't mean anything. They're going to be hanging a banner. But let me give you some of their resumes so, to give you something to think about. So Kevin Durant, tenure as a Thunder. He was Rookie of the Year in 2008, four-time NBA scoring champ, and five-time NBA first team with the Thunder. Russell Westbrook, two-time All-NBA first team, five-time All-NBA second team, two-time scoring champ, two-time assist leader. Averaged a triple-double in 2016, 17, 2017, 18, 2018, and 19 as a Thunder. And SGA currently three-time All-NBA first team, NBA scoring champ. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander became the fifth player over the last 20 years to lead the league in 20-plus, 30-plus, 40-plus, and 50-plus point games in a season. The others are Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. How ironic, three former Thunders. In the 2022-23 season, he averaged 31.4 points per game. The 2023-24 season, he averaged 30.1 points per game. In the 2024-25 current season, he's averaging 32.7 points per game. SGA joins Michael Jordan as the only players over the last 40 years to record 40 or more games of 30-plus points in 3 straight seasons. What SGA has been doing since joining the Thunders is absolutely amazing. And a lot of people had them as the favorites to come out the West last year, but they had to, they end up losing to the Mavericks, and they had to do some reconstruction of their roster. But this year they've been absolutely amazing with SGA leading the helm. And I just feel like, coming over to the Thunder, you got to understand the Thunder were in a really bad place before that Paul George trade and everything, with the departures of Kevin Durant, Russ. You trade Paul George. You got all these draft picks, all these young guys. They were in a bad spot, and they believed in SGA. And for him to give them the return, and now a couple of years later, they are on the verge of heading to the NBA Finals and going to more than likely be the favorites. I don't think right now at this point you could argue that right now, once he wins a championship, if SGA is able to win a championship this season, I don't think there's any argument he's going to be the greatest Thunder ever. Now, like I said, if we're talking about pure skill, can do everything on the floor, my personal opinion, I'm giving it to Kevin Durant. I could understand why the Oklahoma City Thunder fans would say Russell Westbrook. He's Mr. OKC, Mr. Thunder. But I'm telling you right now, if SGA accomplishes that goal, parlays this season with an MVP and wins the NBA Finals, and as a Finals MVP, there's no argument in my mind. SGA is going to be the greatest Thunder ever. But I want y'all to leave y'all comments down below and let me know what y'all think. Is SGA currently right now without a championship the greatest Thunder ever? Is it Russell Westbrook? Is it Kevin Durant? Let me know what y'all think, man. I would love to hear y'all feedback on this one. Moving on to my next topic. So we just spoke on the Oklahoma City Thunder. They won Game 4. They play Game 5 tonight. Actually, once this is done, I'm going to go ahead and tune in to Game 5. And I believe they'll win tonight and end the series 4-1. This will be the second back-to-back year where Minnesota has lost in the Western Conference Finals. So the question I have is, for my third topic is, what moves do the Timberwolves need to make? I'm sorry, I jacked this question up. What do the Timberwolves need to do to make the next step and get to an NBA Finals? My bad, y'all. I jacked that question all up. So, the Wolves made a strong push in the second half and were led by their bench as Nico Alexander-Walker had 23 points on 9 of 15 shooting, and Dante DiVincenzo, who had 21 points, 5 of 8 from the three-point line, both had big nights. However, Minnesota's two leading scorers this postseason, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, both had subpar showings. Edwards ended with 16 points on 13 shots and took just 2 field goals in the first half. Randle was held to 5 points on 1 of 7 shooting. If this series ends as we expect it to in a Thursday victory, Minnesota is going to look back on this game as the turning point. The Timberwolves got the bench game to end all bench games. In total, their reserves scored 64 points. The starters scored just 62. But remember, 22 of them came from defensive specialist Jaden McDaniels. They lost this game because their best scorers didn't score. Anthony Edwards scored 16 points. That made him Minnesota's 5th leading scorer. He took only 2 shots in the first half. That was an explosion compared to Julius Randle, who scored only 5 points. Literally every other Timberwolf player who stepped on the floor scored more points than he did. It was the lowest scoring game of his playoff career. The second lowest scoring game of his playoff career was Game 2 of this series, in which he scored 6 points. The two combined for more turnovers, which was 10, than made field goals 6. So, my opinion, what do I believe the Timberwolves need to do to get over that hump and make it to an NBA Finals? I believe they need more consistent scoring on the offensive end. What I said at the beginning of this series was Anthony Edwards was going to have to be special. Anthony Edwards, everybody comparing him to Michael Jordan, saying he's Michael Jordan's son, everything like that. I said he would have to be that guy in this series. We haven't seen that, but I'm gonna give Anthony Edwards some grace due to the fact there's not enough consistent scoring around him. You have Julius Randle, who one game will give you 30 points, and then the next game he'll give you 6 points. You got Jaden McDaniels, who's a defensive specialist. If he can give you offensive production, that's just a cherry on top. You have Dante DiVincenzo, who finally showed up in Game 4, but he has really been a no-show for majority of this postseason. Alexander Walker is wishy-washy, and also Naz Reid, who's been averaging only 8 points in this entire series. I feel like if I'm Anthony Edwards this summer, I'm going in there and I'm banging on the table to get me some consistent offensive help. He can't do it by himself. For Julius Randle, and I'm not going to cut into Julius Randle too much because I feel like Julius Randle has had a good playoffs up until this point. But for Julius Randle to, in 2 pivotal games, give you 6 points and then turn around in Game 4 and give you 5 points, that's utterly ridiculous. You can't have it. And Jaden McDaniels had a good showing. He gave you 22, but you're not really looking for him to give you much on the offensive end. 22 points from him is excellent. But then you have other games where he'll only give you 7 points. Mike Conley not giving you none. He has 6 points. Anthony Edwards needs more help around him offensively. If you think you're going to continue, you're going to be able to get through series with Anthony Edwards going nuclear. Like I said, Julius Randle can give you good production in spurts, but you need somebody that Anthony Edwards can depend on. If I'm getting double team, triple team, or whatever, I need to be able to depend on somebody to get me a bucket. Right now, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have it. And you're not beating an Oklahoma City Thunder team when you got SGA, who's giving you 30 points a game, Jalen Williams, who's giving you 23 points a game, and Chet Holmgren giving you 17. SGA is going to cancel out Anthony Edwards immediately with his points. So now you need somebody to counteract Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. They don't have that. And I said it when this series first begun. I said I had Oklahoma City coming out the Western Conference regardless, but I said this was a bad matchup for the Wolves because we already know Oklahoma City has the number one they're the number one defensive team in the playoffs. You already know they're going to clog up the paint. They're not going to allow Anthony Edwards to attack the paint and kill him in the inside, nor Julius Randle. They're going to force you to shoot jump shots. If Anthony Edwards is off and they're doubling him, tripling him, and he can't depend on Julius Randle, who's supposed to be the second best scorer, and the other guys are wishy-washy, there's no way they're going to win that series. It was literally the same thing that happened last year with the Mavericks. When you got Kyrie, Luka, and you getting production from guys like PJ Washington and that other cast, you're not beating them. It's the same thing. If I'm Anthony Edwards, I'm going in there this summer and I'm banging on the table. I said it a long time ago. The Wolves need to be all in on trying to get Kevin Durant. And if it's not Kevin Durant, you need somebody that can help Anthony Edwards score on the offensive end when all the attention is being focused on him. But I'm not letting Anthony Edwards off the hook. I understand it, but Anthony Edwards just hasn't been he just hasn't been great. He just hasn't been special in this series. And I felt as though if the Wolves wanted a shot or felt as though they were going to win this series, they needed Anthony Edwards to be special. And he hasn't been that. He hasn't been that. I mean, he's giving you 24 points a game in this series, but I mean, that's good, but it's hard when you got SGA giving you 30 a game because you got to offset that. Then you got Julius Randle. It has here. He's giving you 15.8 points per game. Jaden McDaniels, 15.3. Alexander Walker, 15 points a game. Dante DiVincenzo. But, yeah, when you see, oh, man, Julius Randle giving you 15, then Jaden McDaniels, 15, you'll think, oh, man, Ant got help. But when you go actually look at the box scores, you see that it's in spurts. It's not. You see when they all had it clicking in Game 3, they blew the Thunder out. When the Thunder wasn't able to make shots and Minnesota had it clicking, they blew them out. But the thing is, it's only in spurts. Julius Randle, that game that he had in Game 4 was absolutely atrocious. You can't get that from the guy that's supposed to be your second best scorer. You can't. You can't have it. So this series is going to end the night. I had Oklahoma City winning it in 6, but I think they're going to end it in 5. I think it ends tonight, and I think that they need to go in there and they need to find a way to get them some help on the offensive end. That's the next step I think that can help them get over the hump. Also, Anthony Edwards got to get in the lab, work on the, when teams going to pack that paint and not allow you to kill them in the inside, you got to work on that jump shot. But if I'm them, I'm all in on trying to get Kevin Durant to Minnesota. Now, the only problem is you'll have to trade for him, so I don't know what Minnesota will have to give up to get him. But that's the move that I feel like they need to make if they want to make that next step, or at least somebody that can give them some type of production on the offensive side of the ball. Because what they getting from the guys that they have in spurts is not enough. You're not beating Oklahoma City like that, and they're not going nowhere. They're going to be there next year. The Lakers will be back with Luka and LeBron next year. You also have other teams in Denver will be back next year. So Minnesota got to do something, but two years back to back in the Western Conference Finals, Anthony Edwards has underperformed and they getting smoked for real. Like it's no, you know what I'm saying? I felt as though the Knicks won that trade getting Karl Anthony Towns. Me personally, I feel like Karl Anthony Towns is a better offensive player than Julius Randle. I feel like right now if you swap the two back, I feel like Minnesota will have a better chance against OKC with Cat than they would with Julius Randle, and that's just me being honest. You can't in two pivotal games. Okay, I get it. Game 2. Okay, you had 6. That's a game. But then you turn around in Game 4, a must-win game, and only have 6 points, and the others contributed. But Anthony Edwards ain't give you none. He gave you 16. Both of them played terrible. If Julius Randle takes that 5 points and he ends up with 15, 17 points, Minnesota wins that game. OKC only won by 2 points. Julius Randle show up, they win that game. But that's the move I believe that they need to make. They need to get somebody that could score, that can go get a bucket other than Anthony Edwards on the offensive end consistently. Not every now and then or not every other game. Consistently get buckets on the offensive end. And I think they can make that next step to get to the NBA Finals. But I think it's ending tonight, though. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up, man. A little quick joint for y'all. Nothing too special, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in with me each and every week. This is episode 48, man. Can you believe it? We 2 episodes away from 50 episodes, bro. Well, this 48, so 1 more episode away, then we'll be at 50 episodes, bro. Like, that's a milestone for me. That's something I'm real proud of. I appreciate everybody for locking in with me each and every week. Do not forget to smash that subscribe button. We are on our way to 300 subscribers. Also, do not forget, like and share the content when it drops. Follow me on all social media platforms. I appreciate y'all, and I see y'all next time.